This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
Welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and it is a cold and snowy Wednesday here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's pretty chilly still.
Matt, 1 month from today,
Yeah.
free agency will begin
We'll
in
be open,
the NFL.
right? I know.
It'll be all the signings will start to take place. They'll get announced and all that kind of stuff. So,
Be a whirlwind 1 month from today.
in light of that, I wanted to kick the show off today by we get 3 signings.
Yeah, okay.
3 signings. We can only do 3 outside signings. I'm not talking about any internal signings or anything like that. We get three guys that we can sign who will make the Steelers a better team.
That are logical.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, right. We're
Logical.
not taking T. Higgins, Godwin,
we're not just going to pick the first guy at every spot.
Okay. Not like trade for Debo or something like that. It's got to be
These
a
are
UFA, true
free
UFA.
agent signings.
Okay.
Of guys who are available right now.
Are we going to do this as a collective front office?
Yes, we're
Yeah,
going to
right,
talk this through.
Good.
This
That's
is
what I'm
radio.
hoping.
That's
right,
what we do.
Right. Going to say I have some names, but
We're
I
not
don't
gonna
know
nod
who
at
my
each
3
other
would
and-
be. Right. Okay. Well, let's go.
Where do you want to start?
Corner.
Okay.
I like the corner class draft-wise. Don't get me wrong. Now, let's start receiver.
I just had the receiver position up here.
We're going to get to
Okay.
either one, so it doesn't matter.
Let's start with the receivers.
I think
That'll probably be the hottest market.
It's short on talent.
Yeah.
And finding a fit's going to be difficult. But I do think older, been around the block veteran, and I'm not talking about the 35-year-old, would be useful for this football team right now. Yeah.
I think even if you did, perchance, go out and make a trade for
Adams, Cup, or whatever. Not Adams, but Cup or
Samuels
right.
or
I don't think you're
Christian
done.
Kirk or anybody like that, you're still going to add to that room.
Yeah, whether it's free agency or a third-round pick or whatever. I bet there's 2 new receivers, maybe up to 3 if you lose one.
Yeah. So some of the names: T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Marquise Brown, Darius Slayton, Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson, Mike Williams.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Is I don't know who the name is. I think Higgins and Godwin are a little pie in the sky, but it's not insane. I don't think Higgins is going to be a Steeler.
I don't think so either. I think the guy who I would look at is Amari Cooper.
Cooper's a name that's not past his prime, but not insanely expensive. Would do, route running X stuff. Maybe you can get him a little cheaper considering age and recent production.
Well,
He definitely makes you better.
I'm looking here at the Pro Football Focus rankings. And they also have the projected contracts for these guys.
They're pretty good about it.
And they're saying 2 years, $35 million. So it's 17.5 per.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's not perfect. He has some warts. Doesn't love the cold and has some inconsistencies, but there's also a lot of ability there.
At this point, that doesn't love the cold stuff.
I mean, he's played for Buffalo and Cleveland.
Yeah, he spent the last 4 years playing in the cold. I think he's probably adjusted.
I would imagine. I'm not holding that against him at this point. I wish he'd done more in Buffalo, but he also, we talk about like Roman Wilson getting on a moving train and Mike Williams coming here and
a lot of the receivers that were traded last year didn't do a whole lot.
Didn't step up in Kansas City and just take over.
Every time somebody has a catch, see, look, they did it.
Yeah,
they didn't do it a lot.
They didn't do it a lot. And Cooper had an injury when he got traded, or right shortly after as well. He's the name though. Slayton's the other one I thought.
Slayton's a guy, but I think Slayton's going to.
What do they project his contract?
They're saying
That'll be less.
3 years, $12.5 million
per.
So 3 years, $37.5 million.
Cooper's better.
Yeah, Cooper's more of an established guy, and I think he gives you a presence. And I also think he can be the adult in the room.
Yeah, he's been around the block, former first-round pick. All right, let's add him to the squad.
And it's a 2-year deal.
It's a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
I don't want to give him a 3-year deal at his age.
Right. Just for consideration, Godwin, they're saying 3 years, $20 million per. So 3 years, $60 million. And T. Higgins, you're looking at 4 years, $112 million. So that's $28 million per.
He may even get more.
Yeah.
If that was truly the price on Godwin, I would be in touch with his agent.
Yeah.
I thought he was a really good player pre-injury this year. Isn't falling off at all. slot or outside, blocks, physical, Penn State guy. I would be highly interested there, but we can't have all A-plus home run type free agent signings here either.
No, I think Cooper's a realistic.
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy. It makes you better.
Yeah, that definitely makes you better.
And it doesn't prohibit you from trading Pickens or using an early pick on a receiver or doing none of the above. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it gives you a lot of flexibility.
Looking at the cornerback market, you're looking at DJ Reed, Shavarius Ward, Rasul Douglas, Carlton Davis, Asante Samuel Jr., Byron Murphy Jr., Mike Hilton, Stephon Gilmore, Jonathan Jones, Nate Hobbs, Paulson Adebo. That's basically your top 10-ish type guys.
Any of those I would be interested in. There's none of them I would say no.
Well, not Hilton.
Oh, no, you could. Yeah, I agree. Not Hilton. But the other guys are outside dudes. Douglas doesn't do much for me either. Murphy's probably my favorite. I don't know if he'd be the most expensive or not. He had a lot of picks this year, but
3 years, $52 million. So 17.
That's a little less than I thought.
17.3 per.
Mm-hmm. Is that crazy to say you're going to take a top 5 guy at 2 different positions? I mean, the rest of the league's involved with these guys too.
They are, but you have money too.
Yeah, right.
And you can create more space.
Oh, they got
pretty easily.
Plenty of money.
Yeah,
that's my favorite name. I mean, he's man capable. He's very good in zone. Coming off a great year. He's a little younger than some, but not the youngest guy on the list. But I would say he's in his prime years.
He's 27.
Yeah. Takes the ball away. Has a history in the slot. I don't know how many slot snaps he got this year, but if you drafted an outside corner that you can't believe is there and Murphy bumps to the slot when you go to nickel or dime, you're improved there too.
Yeah.
You're just getting your best players on the field. I like it. I mean, I think if we do that, our third guy should be a cheapo. I mean, not another $12 million guy. Right.
The third guy, I'm not sure what position we would go.
I was going to say I would look at D lineman, but
what about
maybe we should go 2.
Charvarius Ward.
Ward is of interest too.
They're saying 3 years, $43.5 million, so $14.5 million per season.
Okay.
He's 28.7, so he's basically just a year older than Murphy.
I say most of the guys you mentioned there fit the bill to me.
Yeah,
that are better than Jackson. If Trice is a superstar, it doesn't mean that it's going to slow them down. It's kind of like the Cooper move. Like you're getting better, but it doesn't stop you from adding more or making more, type of moves.
You're basically looking at the same price range for Asante Samuel Jr. Now, he scares me a little bit more just because of his injury history.
Yeah, a little younger, though.
Because you went through that with Dante Jackson.
Right.
But he is 25. He's the young guy.
He's the youngest one on the list. I mean, it's his first big contract.
Yeah.
No, I like all those names, unlike receiver. I mean, but I also don't dislike the corner draft either. I don't think that's I
just think if you do that though, if you take people. So if somebody asked on our messages, why do you guys say take a veteran cornerback as opposed to taking a rookie cornerback? Well, first of all, it doesn't take you out of the market for a rookie cornerback.
Right.
But secondly, rookie cornerbacks get thrown at a lot.
Yeah,
and there's a lot put on their plate, and if you're
they rarely come in and make it an Eagles-like impact.
Yeah, these guys are battle tested.
Mm-hmm.
You have much more tape on them to say, okay, he's going to fit into our scheme, as opposed to a rookie cornerback who you're guessing on.
Exactly.
And much of the time, like
I think I need this fixed, not I hope I have this fixed.
Right.
Where receiver I might be okay with. I hope I have this fixed if it was a better receiver class.
Yeah.
But plus also I want the age difference, and I also think when you look at the corners, I don't mind spacing this new guy out in terms of age with a gap to Joey, to a gap to either who you draft this year or next year. You know what I mean? And just kind of have a nice
realistically
gap
right now you have 2 more years of Joey Porter on his rookie contract, so you can afford to do perhaps a 3-year deal.
Your corner room wouldn't be all that expensive.
Because when you re-up Joey Porter Jr., that first year is going to be cost effective because you'll
right
the way you structure the contract.
You wouldn't have a ton of money. You can afford a
3-year deal for
a $15 million guy or whatever like that, assuming he plays up to it.
Right.
Do you have a favorite? Murphy's fine. I like all of them, to be very honest with you. And
ideally, DJ Reed would be the guy that.
Yeah, I don't know if he's better than Murphy or not, though, to be honest with you. I mean, Murphy acted more like the Vikings one than Reed ever has, but he didn't have Sauce Gardner on the other side of him either. I think Reed will be the most expensive.
See, they're saying 3 years, $42 million for him. And here's the thing with Reed, he's not going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
Because if I'm a heavy zone team, I don't want DJ Reed.
Right, right.
Like that's pounding a square peg into a round hole. If I'm going to take DJ Reed, I'm going to be a team that plays 40% or more man coverage.
Which I don't know if the Steelers will or not. I mean, that'd be great, but I don't think they have to. All those guys, to me, definitely fit the bill.
Yeah.
I think Murphy's probably the best player.
Oh, I mean, I like him the best. Yeah.
And Reed is nipping on his heels, just who's the best at football.
Yeah.
And their ages are fine. I mean, I think
according to this, so Murphy's going to be the most expensive guy.
Okay. Then maybe we pivot and take not the most expensive guy. Who would you go with? Ward? I don't know that, like, Samuel's attractive because he's young, but I don't think young matters as much in this situation.
Not
and I know some
so
people
much. And again, that injury history scary. Like, he has not played a full season.
I know. And I'm sure people are like, how could you possibly spend money or get older on defense? Because you need a corner.
Actually, you're actually getting younger, because if you take any of these guys and you're replacing Dante Jackson.
Well, I guess you do get younger than who you played with last year.
Yeah.
But a lot of people I get these on the message boards all the time. Like, can't invest anymore. It's the most expensive defense in the league, and they're not getting enough out of it, and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, doesn't mean you stop. That doesn't mean anything to me, right?
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Right. I got money to spend, and I need a corner.
Right.
So I'm still buying milk if I need milk.
Did you like what you saw in the last 5 games of the season when they had a bunch of guys banged up and what they were putting on the field? Because if you like that, then don't make any changes to the defense.
Right, just run it back. Right. So, I don't know. You want to go with Reed or Murphy? Or Ward? Or
let's just say we sign one of those guys.
It doesn't have to. You have to narrow it down. Right. It's someone in that neighborhood of 15, 16 a year, 15, something like that.
15 a year.
Okay. So we've spent a pretty good buck so far.
But those deals aren't going to be. It's not going to be 15 this year.
No, your cap's not going to get crushed this year, right?
You're going to you've probably between the two players with what they count against your cap this year. You've probably spent $10 to $15 million in cap space.
Yeah, in actual 2025 cap space eaten up. Yeah, good point.
So
because you're giving them big bonus,
right?
And, right.
Yeah. So that's 2 of the spots,
and they get expensive next year.
Where else would you look?
I would look. I mean, I would like to have Roberts back.
We're talking outside. I know.
Guys.
That's
2
signings.
And if Holcomb's not back, so it doesn't. I'm not looking for a third inside linebacker because I don't think that's
good there.
All that much to ask.
A safety?
I say, what about a cheap safety? Like a
we're not signing Javon Holland.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't just
we're not
take the best guys
signing
we want.
Hufanga.
Right.
We're not signing Cameron Bynum. We're not signing Justin Reed. Obviously, not signing Harrison Smith.
Right. I think he's a Viking or bust.
Trayvon Moehrig. No, we don't need a starting safety. We need somebody who can be.
But I wouldn't mind just revamping the secondary with 2 bodies and some kind of draft pick to come. Maybe it's a 4th-round pick or something like that. Preferably slot capable. But I don't mind playing more big nickel than they have. And somebody better than KZ, but he's not going to unseat Elliott or Minka to be the starter.
How about Julian Blackmon?
That's a good one. Every year, he seems like – I mean, we talked about him last year.
Yeah.
We didn't know they were going to sign Elliott, and he was like a $4 million guy from what I remember.
They're saying this year his projection is 3 years, $7 million per. So you're talking 3 years, $21 million.
Yeah, he's good. He's a starter. I mean, we might be aiming a little high. I mean, is he going to be thrilled with, hey, you're our third safety?
Here's the thing. He played a lot of nickel this year.
I know. I'm going to say he's appealing. And there's 3 or 4. I mean, it's always the safety market's always a nice place to shop. 5 days into free agency.
There'll be somebody that doesn't get signed.
Holland will get picked up. Afongo will get picked up. Maybe Blackmon does, but somebody similar will be sitting out there. Like you said, Wednesday's the day things are going crazy. Friday or Saturday, you can get, if he hasn't been picked up, maybe you get him at $6 million a year.
Yeah.
But I think he's a good name. And I remember talking about him a lot last year.
He's younger than your other guys. He's 26.
Yeah.
And again, I just look at what he did this year. He can play free.
Mm-hmm. He has a history of deep middle if needed.
He can play in the slot for you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things you can do with that particular player.
Yeah, and you got a little money, so spend it, and it's kind of the cherry on top.
A younger, bigger version of KZ.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. I mean, he's and better.
Yeah.
And better, yeah. That's great. That's great.
And again, it's not. I mean, now we've spent.
That's not an insane number.
We
to
probably
spend
spent about $18 million in actual cap space.
in cap space, and you got, we think 90-ish when it's all said and done. Over
if they
80.
want. I mean,
if
they're
they
over.
want,
They're
right.
over 40 right now. They can create
Right.
up to over 70 if they.
I mean, the quarterback's going to eat something up.
Yeah.
Obviously,
But
here
even
in the
that,
near
you're
future,
gonna- you can
but it's
adjust
still
that,
going to
yeah.
be moving it around. I'd like to bring back Roberts, but other than that, the Steelers that are currently under contract, there's no one I have to have. You know, I think those three are fine. I don't think that's shooting too high. It's probably a little kind.
Yeah.
You know, in terms,
They're
I mean, you're
probably
fighting
not
with
going to
30
sign
other
a
teams.
safety, a starting caliber safety like Blackman, and
Right,
maybe
right,
somebody
right,
else.
right.
But somebody of that ilk who has some
maybe
starting
it's-
experience. Who's, if one of your guys happens to go down, which did happen this year,
Mhm.
then you got somebody who can fill in at either spot. That's
Yeah. And maybe it's
I do.
90% of what we just described from Blackman, you know, in terms of price and production and
It's a
versatility.
$4 million players.
Yeah. Like Blackman looked like a year ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember a lot of people talking about him, 4 or 5 million. You know, what's Elliott making a year? He's a little over that, right?
Somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you get good safeties for that. That's a good place to shop. Is
Yeah.
what I'm saying is you're going to spend 4 to 6 on a safety per year. You're going to get a quality player, and there's more of them out. The supply is always stronger than the demand.
Yeah, I mean that's why, you know, when you look at this draft in particular, you don't see many safeties ranked in the top 100 because that position is just.
Yeah, and they don't come out of college very NFL ready.
People want to talk
either.
about the running back position being devalued. No, the safety position has been devalued
It has.
in the NFL.
It has. So I think that works. I don't think those three are crazy talk or would prohibit you from doing anything going forward. If we're mocking it up in the second hour, we should do it with those. We
We'll do
have
it with
those
that in
three.
mind, yeah.
We have those three in Russell Wilson or something like that. you
Yeah.
know? Cool. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'd love to go in the draft with that.
It would work for me.
If you told me Fields or Wilson, flip a coin, we're not going to have a conversation for the 100th time. Roberts and those three are on your team the day the draft opens.
And maybe you re-sign Herbig.
Yeah, it's a good one too. I mean, a couple other dudes,
Minor signings that build your
Herbig's
depth,
a perfect
yeah.
one, right? I can go into the draft and build, optimism. No
Yeah.
question.
Absolutely.
And we will.
Absolutely. Anyways, let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. When we return, we're going to fire up the Justin Miller hotline, get Bob Labriola on the phone, the Dean of Doom, the Lord of Living in His Fears, right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And, we welcome in on the Justin Miller hotline, the Dean of Doom, the Lord of Living in His Fears, and one happy fella after the Super Bowl, Bob Labriola.
The game, I enjoyed it, I have to say. I didn't understand halftime, but I'm an old man. No, I didn't. I didn't. And,
I didn't either.
That's not my taste. But, I have no objection to it. Any of the bands I think that I would want to see are either dead or infirm, aged to the point of
Oh, listen,
anyway.
Billy Joel's still out on tour.
Wouldn't be bad, yeah.
You're a Billy Joel guy.
But
I'm
I know,
with you, though,
but
yeah.
As I said, most of the options for someone like me are either dead or too old and infirm. But anyway,
Lawrence Welk.
yeah, there you go. Okay. Benny Goodman. I thought that there was a lesson to be learned in this Super Bowl, or from this Super Bowl, and that is that the sport is still made up of a series of one-on-one matchups / confrontations.
And the quarterback must go down.
Guys, right? And if their guys are handling your guys on a consistent basis, you can think you're going to have adjustments or schemes or play calls. Ain't going to work. So I hope that, for everyone who's been mocking wide receivers to the Steelers in the first round, I'm looking at you, Williamson. To me, I think that should be a a very stark presentation that maybe the way to go is the defensive line.
Well, let me ask you this, Bob. Because the Steelers have a good defensive front overall. They need depth there, and they need, obviously to get younger. But would a cornerback be off the table for you?
No, I really don't think so. But he better be Joey Porter Jr.
Mm-hmm.
if you're picking him 21st, because your next pick isn't until the 50s.
Right.
So I don't know if you can wait that long. And I will respectfully disagree, Dale, with what I think I just heard you assess the Steelers' defensive line. It does not have enough at the top of the depth chart. It does not. I mean, there's Cam Hayward, absolutely. First team All-Pro, yes.
Well, I'm considering the entire
box.
defensive front. I'm considering both outside linebackers, or all three of your top outside linebackers, as part of that defensive front.
Okay, but I do think, though, that there comes a time when you're going to have to be able to have two down linemen with your two edge guys,
right,
and be able to deal with the
did we lose Bob?
Sure seems that way.
Yep. And I don't disagree with that. I think they do need to be better there. I'd like somebody who gives me more than what Larry Ogunjobi does, and maybe that's Keanu Benton. But I think people.
And obviously Cam's age factors in terms of building the roster.
Honestly, I think they can get more out of Benton.
I think he's back.
Are you back, Bob?
Okay.
There we go.
Nice.
Yeah.
As you were saying.
Back. I think you were saying something.
I was just talking. I was just agreeing with what you said there in terms of needing more out of your defensive line, and I'm not opposed to that at all. I mean, Cam is going to be 36 next year, but this is a really deep defensive line draft. I mean, you're going to find guys even into the 4th and 5th rounds that can come in and help, and whether that's nose tackles don't get drafted where Casey Hampton got drafted anymore. Teams just don't do that.
I think you need more than a guy who can come in and help from the defensive line, for the defensive line. I think you need more than that. You need somebody who is,
what kicker?
Cam Hayward's replacement or the next Stephon Tuitt. That's what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just don't think that you're going to be able to deal with the running games that you're going to have to be able to deal with in the formations that you're going to have to be in, because the other team's going to be able to throw it too. And I don't think you're going to get an offense to cooperate and say, okay, let's see what the Steelers are in their base 3-4. Okay, we'll run the ball now. When they're in their nickel, we'll throw the ball now. I just, again, I'm not opposed to picking a corner. The corner better be Joey Porter Jr. and let's not forget George Young's The Planet Theory.
Right.
There's only so many people on the planet who have the size and the athletic ability, to play on the line of scrimmage in the NFL. And so there's not a lot of those guys. I think, I'm not saying it's easier to find receivers and corners, but based on the way the game is played from high school on up, there's more of them, and there's more of them who are working at those crafts for longer periods of time. That's why I'm just a big. If you're looking for somebody dynamic on the line of scrimmage, pick them early, because after quarterbacks, that's the most sought after thing, the big difference making big people.
So, not to put words in your mouth, but I know you're rooting against the Chiefs for legacy reasons, but in a lot of ways, I looked at that game and it gave me a little more hope of how the Steelers can deal with Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Mahomes, because they're not going to have that guy soon. But I know the Steelers are not as good as the Eagles. The Eagles are Super Bowl champs. I know that their roster is not as good as the Eagles. But one of the prominent members of the Steelers front office was a prominent member of the Eagles front office just a couple years ago. And since Andy Weidel and Omar Khan have been in charge, they've attacked the lines of scrimmage. It's not built overnight, but that game, and it's only one game, gave me hope that you could build something similar.
Yeah, and you better do it by doing it the way they did it.
Yeah,
I think those two interior guys are both top of the first round picks. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If one of those guys is there, that's who you pick, in my opinion, because they are tremendous difference makers, and there's just not a lot of them.
Would you be inclined, let's say you just mentioned top of the first round of the draft, or in the first half of the draft. Steelers are at 21 right now. You get to pick 15, and one of those guys is available that you've identified as a guy that can be, again, a potential Cam Hayward replacement or a future Stephon Tuitt. Would you be inclined to make a move up to get him?
It would depend on the cost. I wouldn't rule it out until I heard it, and I don't know what the cost of that would be. If it's ridiculous, I mean, I'm not giving up a second round pick in addition to swapping first.
Right, but I mean, you're looking at moving up maybe 5 spots because you want to. I think you want to get ahead of Cincinnati.
Okay, what I'm saying is, I might consider it. It would have to be depending on who the lineman was first of all. But I would consider it depending on the cost of the move. If the team that wanted to move down wanted the 21st pick, and either my number 2 this year or number 1 next year, I'm out. I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
And there was some free agents signed by draft day, of course, but
Exactly. So let's. I think I'll talk about it, or I would listen, or have someone on the phone. And not only with 5 in front of me, even higher up, just to see, what's the market? Who wants to do whatever? I don't know. I don't see any downside to that kind of stuff and considering it. But it's all about the cost.
And for the right guy, of course. We'd have to identify that player, of course.
Yes.
I mean, if you felt pretty confident, then yeah.
Yes.
Labs, what's your thoughts on the quarterback situation? Do you think it's really a 2-horse race at this point? I mean, would it shock you if somebody that wasn't in a Steeler uniform last year is a starter on opening day?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to look that far because I don't, I think it's still really up in the air who they're going to go into are they going to have a quarterback signed on March 12th?
Mm-hmm.
I think that, that might be the best case scenario from the team's point of view, certainly. If they feel that one of those 2 guys is worth it. And I have a sense that the team looks at those guys that way. They can get a realistic, deal done, if both sides are happy or equally miserable. A lot of times that's where you judge if the deal is good or not by each of the sides are a little miserable about it. I think that would be the preferred, because then it kind of opens up the rest of your off season to whatever you want to try and do, and then through that set yourself up for the draft. Because I really, the quarterback thing has to be resolved. I don't think you can go into, the week before the draft and not have anyone signed. And I'm talking about top kind of person. I don't think that, that would be really rolling the dice, trying to draw an inside straight, But outside of that, I don't know which one of those guys it is. I'll tell you, I don't believe anything I read.
Yeah,
anything.
That's getting hard
none of it.
Hard to buy any of that.
Yeah, you just don't know who's telling somebody what, and there's really only one. There's only really one voice that matters.
Well, and the Steelers don't really respond to that kind of stuff. I haven't since free agency became a thing back in 1993. Just never got into that kind of speculation, quote unquote, what they were interested in, who, and that kind of stuff. Steelers don't respond to that, and so the agents, if they're paying attention, which most of them are, they learn that they can say whatever they want, and it goes unchallenged. And there's a lot of click thirsty people out there now that just go for it. It's Wild West, Dale.
Oh, I know
like
that.
The old days of newspapering, as they used to say.
Yeah, waiting for the morning when it comes out. It's all about immediacy and clicks, as you just said. Bob, we're going to let you go here. Let you get back to preparing to. You got to keep those shoveling muscles limbered up and ready to go.
I hope not.
I hope we're out of the woods
Keep
on
that stuff down in Washington County, man.
You get more of it up north than we get in Washington County. But our guest has been Bob Labriola, the Dean of Doom, the Lord of Living in His Fears, and we appreciate Bob stopping by to chat with us every Wednesday here. You're listening to The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, I just want to remind people, Bob brought up Stephon Tuitt there.
Yeah.
When Stephon Tuitt retired after the 2020 season, he was 27 years old.
27, right.
He was coming off of a season in which, in 15 games, he had 11 sacks, 45 tackles.
He was equal the player of Cam at that point.
If you remember at that time, that was the year holding was legal.
Oh, okay. I didn't put two and two together on that.
Stephon Tuitt and T.J. Watt were the only two teammates who got double-digit sacks that
in
year.
the whole league.
In the entire league.
Yep.
And that's what the Steelers lost.
Right. It's massive. I mean, it's such a hard thing to overcome. Because we've talked about this numerous times on the show.
He should still be playing football.
He should still be playing. Or maybe you're looking for his replacement.
Yeah, if you're Kevin Colbert going into the 2020 offseason, you're like, all right, we got Stephon Tuitt and Cam Hayward, and they're both in the prime of their careers here. Like, this is awesome. We don't have to draft a defensive lineman here. Like,
right. We got a lot.
Pretty good.
We got some time to buy, or use a 5th-round pick on a project and see if it hits, or something like that. And then the other thing, again, we talk about this a ton, is Hargrave would probably would have never left too. Like, you don't get a crystal ball.
Like, we're only gonna have Stephon one more year.
If he had notified the team, hey, this isn't for me. I'm going to play one more year. And obviously other things took in the mix here, of course, and made that a problem. But you lost two big time D linemen that were keepable, or you wouldn't have lost both.
They were in the prime of at that point. Hargrave was 26.
Yeah.
And Tuitt was 27. Like,
different style players, and they don't look the same walking in the door. But Hargrave was a really good pass rusher too. And
right.
Back to segment one. Would you still call him?
Yes,
I would too. I would too. Which you could add him and Nolan. I mean, like, you don't need it to be done.
Put it this way: his last year with the Steelers was 2019.
Hargrave.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they lost him in 2020. They lost Tuitt after the 2020 season.
Yeah. That's paying ramifications.
Those are second and third round draft picks that you spent on defensive linemen,
and you hit.
It's
not that you lost on them, right? Now, a lot of teams have semi-similar issues. Like Andrew Luck's the one that comes to mind. That
the Tuitt situation is very Andrew Luck-like,
and so is Shazier.
Same thing with like David DeCastro. They didn't know until they got done with minicamp that year that DeCastro wasn't going to play.
And a lot of it's the timing of the year too.
Yeah.
Like,
oh no, his ankle just hasn't bounced back.
Yeah,
and that's what kind of drives me a little bit bonkers when people.
No one thinks about that from a GM's perspective, right?
Nobody thinks about it from, well, you don't have anybody left from that draft.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Javon Hargrave from the 2016 draft was a massive hit.
Massive hit.
In the third round was a massive hit.
And the Eagles would agree.
And
right,
he got paid $1 gajillion to go elsewhere. That doesn't mean the Steelers missed on him.
No. That's a great point. And the other thing, back to like the DeCastro timeline, he's a great Steeler. He deserves the benefit of the doubt. we can wait on him to see if the ankle comes around or not. But there's a point where you wait and all the guards are on other teams.
That's kind of what happened.
That's kind of what happened.
And then they got
Minicamp's
stuck with
too late.
they signed him right after minicamp. The guy from
trying to think who they even went down the road to.
It
was a replacement level type guy, right?
He wasn't,
right.
he wasn't David DeCastro.
Of course.
You were lucky he was there.
And the way that the league is set up, DeCastro is going to eat up a chunk of cap too, and you're either going to have that to play with or not. It's just.
And quite frankly, had they known that DeCastro wasn't going to be available in 2021, they probably draft differently.
Oh, everything would be different. I mean, just the whole butterfly effect of the offseason would be different.
I mean, they went into that draft, and instead of taking a guard, they took Kendrick Green and Dan Moore in the 3rd and 4th rounds.
Yeah,
well, if they had known that, hey, we're not going to have DeCastro, maybe they take a 2nd-round guard, or maybe they do take Creed Humphrey in the 2nd round instead of Pat Freiermuth, because they're like, okay, we're losing our best offensive lineman.
Yeah, we're just drafting O-line heavy because we thought we'd get one more year out of this guy, and we could thought we could maybe wait a year to do this. We drafted 2 of them, so they knew that the line was obviously up in age and it was time to start drafting linemen. But people don't think about that stuff from what the life as a GM is. That okay, we know the answer. I want to take Creed Humphrey or the best guard in the draft or whoever it is. But I need the question presented to me differently first before I could answer it. My evaluations might be perfect. My evaluations on Hargrave and especially Tuitt were perfect. They were the players we thought they were the day we drafted them and developed them. And then this league is not for long.
Yeah,
it's just brutal, right?
Things can change. It's really not all that different from the Ryan Shazier injury.
Right. It's totally unprepared for.
These guys are, great players that all of a sudden you just lost. Now you knew with Hargrave you were going to, you made a choice. They had re-signed Hayward, they had re-signed Tuitt, and they just couldn't at that point. It was Trey Turner was the the replacement level player.
I remember at the time we were even happy he was available.
Right.
It was that bad.
Could have been somebody worse.
Right. And he was far from being David DeCastro, of course. Right.
But yeah, I mean, you probably draft differently. You might have, instead of taking 2 offensive linemen, you probably take 3 in that draft.
Yeah, or even the year before, or whatever. I mean, just the whole timeline would be way, way different, of course.
But you don't know about these things.
You don't know about that thing.
Catastrophic things that occurred to these guys that,
and someday I would love to see, and once in a while you'll hear a GM that's retired or whatever tell you stories, and it's remarkable. And sometimes it's the other way around. Like, man, we really wanted this player, and we got stuck with Antonio Brown. And he hits, it's an imperfect science, obviously. But a lot of the times you get blindsided in this league where I would have prepared for this if I knew it was coming, but
I could tell you, I could tell you this, and I've heard this from numerous people, so I know it's not something that one person is making up here. There were people who, in 2010, thought they could just cut Antonio Brown and put him on the practice squad that year.
Yeah.
And, kind of just carry him.
Yeah.
And
he's a late round pick, small school. Yeah, right.
And
they
other people disagreed. Other people who actually had the power to disagree with that said, no, we're going to keep this guy.
He's too good.
He's too good.
I'm not taking that risk.
If we put him out there, somebody's going to scoop him up, and we won't have him.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, they took Emmanuel Sanders in that draft as well, and Sanders was the more polished player at that point.
And he was drafted ahead of him, and for a reason at the time.
And they were both good.
They were both good, right? And they both apparently had really good preseasons and mini camps and training camps and all that stuff too. These are keepers. No, but it's weird. I mean, there's so many instances where, man, we got shut out on corners, but we end up taking this tight end that we weren't set on, and he hit or whatever. But most of the time it's negative, where the league just deals you rough cards, even though you be the most prepared GM or front office out there.
Yeah, I mean, Hargrave's last season with the Steelers, he had 60 tackles.
It's a lot for
and 4 sacks from the nose. And
I wonder how many snaps he's playing with those other 2 dudes out there. Like in nickel, was he out there all the time? Maybe not at all.
He was out there some at the end, in that 2019 season, because that year in 2019, Tuitt only played 6 games.
Yeah.
So they're putting him out there with Hayward.
And to fast forward to 2025, if you were to sign him, he probably would be in your nickel right now with Cam.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you were to go down that road, I mean, Benton might get
Benton
some
would
snaps
get some
or
snaps
a first-round pick
rotate,
or whatever.
but to give you more of that rotation that you're looking for.
He would not only be an early down guy.
Yeah.
You know, even at this stage of his
career.
Even
in that 2019 season, if you remember, that was the year Tuitt got hurt out playing the Chargers.
Okay.
He was off to an awesome start that year.
Yeah. I mean, he was really coming into his own.
He had 3.5 sacks in 6 games that year to go along with 22 tackles.
How old did you say he'd be today?
Well, he was 27 when he was done there, so he'd be 31 right now, 31, 32.
Yeah, and you still may have drafted Benton, but you'd ask less of him. You wouldn't have Ogunjobi. You know, you'd have Tuitt under a big contract probably.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he'd be making good money, but that was the plan.
That was the plan, and then the plan went
right.
awry, as they say.
Absolutely.
But those kind of things, those are the things you can't plan for. That 2020 season for Stephon Tuitt was awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
and I'm sure there's people out there going, well, you should have developed depth. The Eagles would have had a guy waiting. You only get so many picks. Yeah, I mean, okay, maybe we would have thrown an extra defensive tackle 6th-round pick at the mix. Probably wouldn't have hit. You know, it doesn't mean you can't just use 1st and 2nd round picks left and right on these guys.
Yeah, it just doesn't work that way. And if you remember as well, when Hayward and Tuitt were in their prime like that, they were both 80% snap guys.
Yeah,
they were out there a lot.
They were out there a lot.
That was part of the beauty of those guys is they never had to come off the field.
Yeah, much like Cam nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, but even though he's up in age, they're 3-4 ends, but they're nickel players, they're dime players, they're pass rushers, and they can stop the run. And Labs is right. I mean, if you can find that dude, well, you go get him. You know, but the finding part's hard.
That's the thing. Everybody else is trying to find that too.
Everyone wants those guys, right?
You could get shut out. We're doing mock drafts now for the triple take, and I get down to the pick 21. And I'm like, well, geez, the top 3 or 4 defensive tackles are all gone. Like, now what?
And we mentioned this to the Labs too. It is a deep draft, and the guys in the 4th round are better than usually they are in the 4th round. But that doesn't mean they're Stephon Tuitt.
Yeah, I'm not going to just simply take it to the top. And it's part of the problem that they ran into for a long time at the cornerback position. Everybody says, they need corners, they need corners. Well, if you're drafting 24th, a lot of times you're not getting one of those cornerbacks.
Yeah,
you can love the top 5 guys in that draft.
And have them ranked properly.
But I'm not taking guy number 6 because the first 5 guys went. And I'm taking number 6, and I got him ranked 57th on my board. That's bad business.
Yeah. So you end up with somebody or a journeyman or not even a journeyman, maybe
a 3rd-round pick, or what have you.
And you got to develop more and all that stuff too. Take risks on the Ike Taylors. Have a lot of upside in the 4th round, and maybe he hits, but most don't.
Right.
I mean, that's a tough hit rate. That's a tough way to live.
Yeah, there was on the message board today. Somebody was talking about busts. And they mentioned Dan Moore and George Pickens as busts, and I'm like,
you don't understand the word then.
Yeah,
right.
you're not using the correct definition of the
right.
word.
Maybe you could say they could have got more out of him. I mean, if you want to phrase it differently, I'll listen.
Dan Moore was a 4th-round draft pick that started all but 1 game in his career as a Steeler.
Like more snaps than anyone over that time.
That's not a bust. That's the exact opposite of a bust. You can say he's not a great player. Fine.
And I'll agree with you.
He's a 4th-round pick that was a full-time starter for you
at
left tackle.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's
the exact
That's a very
opposite of a
highly
bust.
productive draft pick.
Yeah,
it absolutely is. Yeah.
And Pickens has 2,800 yards in 3 seasons in the NFL. That's not a bust.
Right. If you took Dan Moore 8th overall, okay, that's a bust.
Right.
I mean, he's out there, but he's not a plus player. That's a different story. I mean,
the Steelers have some busts, some legitimate busts.
Of course.
Devin Bush is a bust.
Right.
But, I mean, don't just say, this guy's a bust and that gets thrown around too much.
Just because he's not what you want him to be.
He's
not Jonathan Ogden or whatever, right? Yeah.
That guy's not Michael Irvin. He's a bust.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it depends what you paid for him.
And just in the terms of Pickens, you may not like how he carries himself on the field, but you can't argue that he produces when he's on the field.
Or that he's worth a 2nd-round pick. He's very worth a 2nd-round pick. If they could get the same
by that
guy
definition, Antonio Brown is a bust, and that's ridiculous.
And say that's the total opposite, right? If you could get a carbon copy of Pickens in the 2nd round this year, I would take him.
Yes,
in a heartbeat, right?
Without some of the
even with it
annex. Well, yeah.
I mean, if you gave me the same guy 3 years younger or whatever, give or take, And maybe he's just slightly less talented. No one's exactly the same. That's not a bad pick.
Maybe slightly less,
Craziness, right.
Anyways, let's get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2. You are listening to Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, it's time for a little mock draft here to continue what we talked about in the first segment of the show, where we signed Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
We signed, let's say, Travarius Ward, cornerback.
One of those corners, an outside.
And we signed Julian Blackmon type in safety.
It'd be nice additions.
Those are our 3 outside guys that we added.
Yeah, I think you'd be sitting pretty on draft day. We've mentioned, a Roberts, a Herbig. I don't think that's small potatoes. I like those players. I'm not discounting them.
The Jimmies that we're throwing on.
Yeah. But that just eliminates needs. You know who you're getting. I would be shocked if either one of those guys goes elsewhere. And we're not going to the draft with 0 quarterbacks on the roster.
Right. We have a quarterback in-house.
Yep.
All right. Do we want to explore any pre-draft trades for an additional wide receiver?
That's what I was going to mention, too. Like, that doesn't mean – I know that you're getting a little older, but we're trying to win football games here.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you couldn't make a Cooper Kupp trade or a Debo trade or a Tyreek trade. Or you could get crazy. I think if you were to trade for Tyreek – you're probably moving Pickens, and then drafting another guy. But
let's explore that here.
All right, okay. That's fine.
Let's say
who do you want to pursue?
We do try to get Tyreek Hill.
Whoa, okay.
We're going big. Go big or go home, Matt.
And we're trying to win this thing.
And we're going to trade George Pickens in the deal.
Okay.
The Dolphins would do that straight up.
Oh, I know they would. The Dolphins, It's all about cap. And I'm sure people are like, then do it.
But we could also get them to sweeten the pot.
I think because it's all about contract and age.
Right.
And Tyreek's not the easiest guy to get along with necessarily, possibly. He could upset the apple cart a little bit.
According to I'm using Pro Football Focus's draft mock drafter. We could the offer here right now, there's a 72% chance they would take Pickens straight up for Tyreek Hill, the 98th pick and the 114th pick. We'd be getting those back along with Tyreek Hill.
To me, that's an easy one. However, I don't want to get to the 5th round and be like, we don't need any positions anymore.
Well,
you know what I mean?
We can throw in a late one. We'll throw in our.
I don't mind that. I just mean I wouldn't mind over the course of the draft, even.
Well, this would allow us. Again, we're gathering resources here. We can move around a little bit.
Now I'm interested in gathering premium picks because I want to spend 1 or 2 D-line picks for sure. Let's just make the deal. Or give or take, something like that.
They've accepted the deal.
Okay.
So we picked up 98, 114, Tyreek Hill.
And his contract.
That's why why it's so expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. You got old at receiver.
And we gave up George Pickens and the 250th pick in the draft.
Okay. And we're starting Tyreek and Amari Cooper.
Yeah. Now, do I want to slow this down in case we want to move up at some point in the first round? I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna start the draft here, and
like if Mason Graham fell, like we had that conversation with Bob,
right? Cam Ward and Shador Sanders go first.
Mm-hmm.
McMillan goes third. Tetero and McMillan. Travis Hunter goes 4th. Again, we're not making these picks.
Yeah.
Will Johnson 5th. Mason Graham 6th.
Okay. And I was with Bob. I'm not interested in giving up next.
I'm not going to move all the way.
Yeah.
I might move up a few spots.
If by chance he would, I brought his name up because if he's there at a 10 or 11 and you can't believe it, well, we can maybe work something out.
James Pierce just went. Will Campbell just went. The Cowboys are up at 12. Ibuka went. Tyler Warren went at 13.
One of the issues with this draft, as good as the D-tackle group is, as it stands right this second, I don't know who the guy is here that I would trade up for at D-tackle. You know what I mean? Like, I like Nolan. I like Grant. I like I like a lot of the guys. But enough to say those picks we just got for Tyreek and 21 I'm going to move up for?
Right.
I think I'll hang, most likely.
Yeah, because we have 6 picks. We have 6 picks in the top 121 here after that trade.
I bet. Right. And my original point is we've signed things. I don't know that we have 6 holes that we need to put premium picks in.
They're 8 that we, as it were.
Right.
So we're at 16. The Cardinals are on the clock. I paused it here. All the other defensive tackles are still on the board.
Okay, yeah. I'm not sure who our favorite is, though. Like, who's the target?
I think there's two. I think, to me, I think it is
Nolan and Grant.
Nolan and Grant.
Yeah.
So there's two of them left right now.
I like their chances to get to 21.
I'm going to resume then.
We'll live with it. Yeah.
Now, if one of them goes here, then we got to start getting a little. Walter Nolan just went to the Cardinals.
Okay.
Do we trade up?
Is Grant a guy you trade up for?
That's what I'm saying. Do we trade up for a nose tackle?
I think the answer is no.
All right, I'm going to resume the draft.
I mean,
then.
I might want to trade up for Farmer in the 3rd round or something strange like
Kelvin
that.
Banks went. Benjamin Morrison went.
Okay.
Josh Simmons went. Armand Membo went. All right, so.
Okay. I mean, he's a nose. I mean,
yeah.
I just.
Would you consider Shamar Stewart there?
No.
I don't think I would. Where's the production?
I don't think he's the same.
Yeah.
It's something. I think he's an edge.
Yeah. Now, we do have 3 trade down offers. The Texans are on the phone.
They're too far. Well,
they're 25.
They're not too far.
Do we think Grant goes in the next 4 picks?
What non-D tackles are out there? Now, I know we're better at receiver, better at corner. We're probably done at safety.
Matthew Golden is there. Michael Williams. Amari and Hampton, Gray Zabel, Nick Scourton, Tyleek Williams.
Okay.
So Jade Barron is there.
Players we like, but
you just take.
I think you just take Grant.
You just take Grant. All right,
and you're happy about it, yeah. Because you have all those extra picks too.
Now, at this point, do you want to trade up for a cornerback at the top of the 2nd round?
Maybe a wideout,
or maybe a wideout.
Right. I would consider that too because I don't love Cooper and Tyreek's age.
No.
I mean, they're win now guys.
Yeah.
And we're not going to have 3 receivers on the field a high percentage of the time. Arthur Smith's offense has shown that. But
Trey Amos just went. Jade Barron just went.
Those would be attractive, especially
Matthew
Barron.
Golden just went. Tyleek Williams went. That's the end of the 1st round.
Okay.
All right, the Browns are on the clock at the top of round 2. The players, well, let's see here.
Would you consider a quarterback sooner than later?
In this instance where I picked up the extra picks, yes.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't say a lot of glowing things about Dart.
But if I had extra picks.
I'll take a dart throw.
Yeah. All right, Siobhan Ravel just went at 35.
And his injury wouldn't bother me as much now.
Right.
You know, even if he's not ready for mini camp or any of that kind of stuff. I just don't know who my targets are to trade up, but I would like to consolidate my picks. I know that's harder to do on a computer.
Yeah, Alec and Imanor just went at 36. Jack Betts just went at 37. Demetrius Knight, linebacker out of South Carolina. Prince Yu went. Ezeruku.
For fun, just pause it, and who's someone that you would consider trading up for?
Well, here's the problem is it doesn't show me that.
Okay, you can't do that. Like, I don't want to trade up for a running back, but I wouldn't mind.
I would actually have to make the trade before it shows me who's available. I'm going to resume here. Jets pick
That's what I'm saying.
Omar
It's easier
Norman
in the
Lott.
real world to be like, I can't believe Hampton's still there.
Xavier Watts. Cam Scatabo just went at 44. Darian Porter just went at 45. Tyler Booker just went at 46. Xavier Restrepo went at 47. Jalen Walker at 48.
None of those are breaking my
Carson
heart.
Swesinger went at 49. JT Tuamalotu, Lowu, I should say. Kyle Kennard. Ariante Ursary. So we are up again here. Top players available. Jihad Campbell, Dylan Sampson, Caleb Johnson, Savion Williams, Jaden Higgins. I would consider Higgins there.
I would consider Higgins.
Donovan Jackson, Derek Harmon, Jordan Birch. Harmon's different than Grant.
I would say Harmon, to me, is worth the risk here. I mean, if you really want to attack, if you want someone that might turn into Tuitt or Hayward, it might be him. You know, I prefer Nolan, but they're the same style. I would also consider going, maybe you want a Pro Bowl running back. That's not my style. I wouldn't trade up for a running back, but if Johnson's there, you know, that's somewhat appealing. I can live with my corners and receivers for another year. And to Bob's point, he's right. Every draft class, I can find a corner or a receiver.
The Texans are on the phone.
Okay.
They're at 57.
What number is this? 52?
52. Now, Darius Alexander is also still there.
Harmon and Alexander would both make me happy.
Yeah.
If you want to attack a problem.
Right.
And that's what we use free agency for, so we could attack this problem.
So if they wanted, if we move 50 back to 57,
let's try to give them 3 picks for 2.
but they give us 89, we give them 114. Now we've moved up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And
I wouldn't mind consolidating picks with another trade.
okay, so we have.
We give them 3 picks, they give us 2.
I'm just trying to figure out which picks because they got 57, 89, 125, 167, 243.
Yeah, I just don't know I have no clue what their picks are.
I'm going to look here.
Or their future 4th, or,
If we give them 163 for 125, that has a 59% chance. So we'd be giving up 53, 114, 163 for 57, 89, 125.
That gets it done, but what if we threw in another 7th and they threw in next year's 5th? Just to kind of kick the can down the road a little bit.
That's really dumping that we would only have, we'd have 6 picks left.
Which is a lot. You know, we have.
But they'd all be in the top 125.
I was going to say, they're all high, and we already have a lot
I
of needs.
I don't know if they're going to give us a 5th for next year for that. Yeah, that's saying 47% chance.
All right.
I'm going to offer this and see what.
Okay.
There we go. That worked.
Okay.
All right. So we moved back a little bit. Who did they take? They moved up to get Jaden Higgins.
Makes sense for them. They need him bad.
Caleb Johnson just went.
Both of whom would have been fine picks.
Jihad Campbell just went. The Bills are on the clock, and the Bills take Dylan Sampson.
So we got our D lineman.
So you want to take Derek Harmon there?
Yeah.
Or do you want Alexander?
It's funny. I had this exact dilemma. I just ran one mock yesterday, and I didn't end up taking a D lineman in round 1, but I wanted to. And in round 2, I had the choice between these 2. And I went with Harmon, but I was true coin flip.
Yeah.
Like I have Nolan ahead of both of them, but I think all 3 of them are similar.
Here's the thing is we have a nose.
Yeah.
Alexander can do some of that.
Yeah.
But we don't need him to. But Harmon is a true outside defensive, defensive end.
Longer. You're right. I love Alexander, but I feel like I'm saying bad things about Alexander, but I'm not. I just think Harmon might go in the first round.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to hit this.
Take Harmon.
I'm going to speed this thing up because we have our next pick isn't until 85. So we have 85, 98. I'm sorry, 85, 89, 98, 121, 125.
Yeah, and we've made plenty.
We've made plenty of trades.
Let's take Harmon.
All right, going to take Harmon there. So we've taken 2 defensive linemen.
Okay.
Now, and now
I'm fine with that. Right.
Things are flying here a little quicker.
Yeah. Quarterback and running back, I'm more apt to take now than I would have.
We're back up now at 85. The top guys available are Dylan Gabriel, Marcus Mbao, Azirie Thomas, Mason Taylor, Tez Johnson, Devin Neal, Trey Harris, Harold Fannin, Deone Walker. We're done in the defensive line. We're not.
Yeah, there's no space on the team.
Tate Ratledge, the guard out of Georgia. Quindarius Robinson, the edge rusher out of Alabama. Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama. Andrew Makuba, I should say, the safety out of Texas. Mello Dotson, Kansas cornerback. R.J. Harvey, the halfback out of UCF. Will Howard, quarterback out of Ohio State.
Maybe.
Aston Gillette, edge rusher out of Louisville. Jonas Sanker, safety out of Virginia. Kobe Bryant, the other cornerback out of Kansas. Jordan Phillips is there. We're done at the
yeah.
DJ
He's
Giddens.
one of my favorites too.
Jalen Rivers, J.J. Pegas. We're done with that. The wide receivers got picked over pretty well there.
I was going to say, there wasn't a ton of names. You rattled off 25 names or something, and there wasn't a lot that jumped out at me.
People need to understand when you're doing drafts like this, in reality, there's not a ton of difference between the guy ranked 72nd on these boards and the guy ranked 105th.
Yeah, it might not show up in the queue or whatever, of course, right.
Is there a position you want to hit?
Quarterback and running back are
yeah. Wide receivers, you're looking at Tez Johnson, Trey Harris, Jalen Noel, Torrey Horton, Pat Bryant, Kobe Hudson, Kyle Williams.
I like Noel. I like Howard. Who's the best back? That best back's going to get the ball a lot this year.
Yeah. Your best back available is Devin Neal.
Is that your favorite of the ones so out there?
R.J. Harvey there, DJ Giddens out of K-State, Damian Martinez out of Miami.
We must pick again soon, too, right?
We've got 3 picks. We got 85, 89, 98.
Oh, that's great.
We're going to
take the back. Neal?
You want to take Neal?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if we're giving picks up for and swapping out Pickens for Hill and adding Cooper, we're trying to win now.
Yeah.
And a running back helps me win now.
I don't mind taking an offensive tackle here at some point,
I don't
too.
either. I mean, the other Grant wouldn't break. Plus, we have two of them again. Those type of dudes is certainly in the mix to me. But I think we have to leave this draft with a tackle.
Yeah. Do you want to take? You want to go quarterback here? You want to go running back? Or I'm sorry, running backs off, but wide receiver,
quarterback, wide receiver, corner, tackle, are the ones I would.
All right, I'm gonna eliminate everything else here.
If there was an awesome tight end or somebody you can't believe's there, of course.
Wide receiver, offensive tackle. So you're looking at.
And what about corner?
Cornerback, okay. So you're looking at Dylan Gabriel, Tez Johnson, Trey Harris, Jalen Milroe, Mello Dotson, Will Howard, Kobe Bryant, two Kansas cornerbacks, Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame, Jalen Rivers, the top offensive tackle by their rankings.
He might be a guard, though.
Yeah.
I think he is.
Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, the tackle out of Florida. Jalen Noel is there. Jackson Dart is there. Jacob Parrish, cornerback out of K-State. Torrey Horton, the wide receiver from Colorado State.
I think Dart's cheating. I don't think he'd last as long.
Yeah.
If we're going to take a quarterback, I would say Howard. I think Dart is cheating. Trey Harris really excites me, too. He doesn't have to play right now. I don't think he's going to run great. I think he's being slept on a little bit. I think he's a really good player.
You take him here?
Yeah.
Okay. Trey Harris, wide receiver out of Mississippi.
Mm-hmm. I'm a fan.
Okay. We're back up again, and a lot of the same guys still available here.
There wasn't a tackle that I was hoping for, but maybe I just don't know enough about
Chase
them.
Lunt is there. Emory Jones.
Emory Jones is enticing.
Yeah.
Would you take those guys over Howard?
At the quarterback position, again, you're starting to. It's Milroe, it's Howard, Riley Leonard, Jackson Dart is still there.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen. I would take Howard here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know we love Shuck, but Howard works for me.
All right, Will Howard it is. Quarterback out of Ohio State.
See what happens there, especially if it's Wilson the starter.
Yeah. Now we are back up at 121.
You think Wilson would like throwing to Tyreek Hill?
I think so.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah. A corner wouldn't break my heart.
Top guys available: Savion Jones, the edge rusher out of LSU; Jacob Parrish, cornerback out of K-State; Jack Kaiser, the linebacker out of Notre Dame; Josh Palmer, the defensive lineman.
We can't do it.
Yeah, we can't do it. Love the player, but can't do it. Damian Martinez, the running back out of Miami. Again, love the player.
That's double dipping a little heavier than I want to there.
Zay Alexander is there, the cornerback out of LSU.
Okay. I could live with that.
Chase Lunt is still there.
Tell me more about Chase Lunt. I just know the name.
He's the 6'8", 305-pound guy. So he's a tackle,
though. Yeah, he's a true tackle, right? Developmental tackle sounds good. I just don't know enough about the player. Is there a tight end that you can't believe's there?
We only have 2 picks left.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to get shut out on tackle, but who are you liking here?
Mitchell Evans is there from Notre Dame.
Not a bad player. Yeah.
But that's largely getting picked over.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I would probably go cornerback first.
The LSU dude?
Him or Jacob Parrish out of K-State.
Yeah. I don't want. Yeah, it'd be nice. I still think you need to come out of this with a corner.
Yeah. Parrish has been. Of course, he plays in the Big 12, but in each of he saw 73 targets this year. He saw 70 last year. Last year he had a much better year. Only gave up 2 touchdowns. He had 4 interceptions. This year it was 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. But the completion percentage isn't crazy that he gave up.
No, I'm a fan of him and Alexander.
Played
in this neighborhood.
some slot. He's 5'10", 198.
Okay.
Whereas
Let's do it.
Alexander's a little bit bigger at 6'2", 194. That might be more.
I think I'd go Alexander.
Yeah, and just
This is one we won't know the answer to, but
he's more of a zone corner. But
I would maybe even break this tie of who's going to help me more on special teams on week 1.
We signed a corner too.
Oh, exactly.
We could actually take a nickel type guy here.
I know.
Like I just look at like Quincy Riley.
Oh, is Riley still there?
Yeah.
Oh. Nickel wouldn't hurt. I mean, right now Blackman's our nickel, or Murphy's kicking in and Trice is our outside, or something along those lines. But or Beanie. I like any of those corners.
Let's take a shot on Alexander.
Okay.
An LSU cornerback.
Yeah.
And we have our final pick now at 125. And
a tackle would be fine. I know lineman of any sort would be fine.
Lunt is still there. Emory Jones is still there.
I'm a Jones fan. I wish he was an inch taller or so, but I would take Emory Jones in a heartbeat in that part of the draft.
He might be your starting guard.
And he might be Isaac's backup, or a replacement in a year or something like that. But he might be a tackle.
He might be a tackle too.
Yeah.
All right, Emory Jones Jr. It is, and we are done with this mock draft. We ended up.
I'm going to like it too much and say this is too good to happen.
Well, when you move around like that,
right.
that's part of the.
It's part of the
beauty.
It is.
So we ended up with Kenneth Grant at pick 21.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Harmon in pick 57. Devin Neal at pick 85. Trey Harris at pick 89. Will Howard at pick 98. Zay Alexander at pick 121. And Emory Jones at pick 125. And they can room together since they're both LSU guys.
Yeah, they're buddies. Right.
How about that? And, by the way, we picked up Tyreek Hill.
And Amari Cooper.
We signed Amari Cooper.
Yeah. And Pickens left. But we got, our receiver room is very different. We brought in 3 guys and shipped 1 out. The rest of the offense is semi-similar. D-line room looks really encouraging for the future.
Yeah.
Corner you're better at, and you added another one to take a flyer on. I bet you having a Landon Roberts or something like that. You look pretty strong up the middle. Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah.
Maybe Howard turns into a player.
Yeah, there's always that possibility. And, again, when you have that many picks early, you're more likely to hit.
Oh, yeah.
You're taking more bites out of the apple.
Yeah, this would be harder to pull off than we did
it was
in 15
here.
minutes, right?
A Tyreek Hill trade is not.
Sure.
Yeah.
And your cap would be affected by all this stuff, too, of course. But you're a better football team.
Yeah.
I mean, you sign me up for that in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. But let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley, and this is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network, and we'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. And you can, of course, hear this show every day on these very airwaves, or you can download the Steelers mobile app and get it there, or you can watch on YouTube, and you should check that out.
No doubt.
Got Tevin Dandridge today getting it up on the website there, making sure that gets out for everybody. And Matt, friend of the show, Jeremy Fowler, has put out a little piece here on the NFL's overhaul tiers, who's contending and who is rebuilding
I wanted
in
to dig into this
2025. And he has as still major contenders, the 2 teams in this tier, still major contenders, the Chiefs and the Eagles.
And I agree with that. Here's
the thing. The Chiefs right now have $5.1 million in cap space.
Yeah, and they have needs.
They're going to have major needs after this. Now, they're still going to have Patrick Mahomes.
No question.
But as they showed in the Super Bowl, if they can't protect Patrick Mahomes, it might not be the best thing in the world.
I don't know that they'll have Kelsey, and I'm not sure that's even a bad thing. I mean, you would open up some cap space, and at this stage of his career, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know the Chiefs cap situation like the back of my hand, but I'm sure you can borrow from the bank of Mahomes if you had to, if needed. But they need to address the offense. I mean, they need a pass catcher or 2, a running back maybe, and a lot of line help.
Maybe at least 2 offensive tackles, and they're going to need a guard as well.
Right. I'm not rolling back with Caliendo to replace Smith.
That was a disaster.
Tooney's going back to left guard, and that's great, but at least a tackle and at least a guard, probably 3.
And, you're not going to fix that in the draft.
Probably not. Suamataia maybe takes a step forward, but he didn't show any signs of that as a rookie. He knew he's a raw player, but he's allowed to get better too. But no, I mean, but they're still a contender.
They're a contender,
right.
Yeah. I just don't know that they're a major contender. I mean, they've shown that they are.
Yeah.
Every year.
And it's not that the Eagles don't have, people
The
leave.
Eagles have
people
even less
guys.
cap space. They got
They have less
$3.7 million, and they've already maxed out the credit cards down in the future. We talked about that earlier in the week.
And they're going to have some defections, too. I
Yeah.
mean, after that Super Bowl, you think Williams and Sweat aren't going to get paid, and Bond, and, of course, we knew they were all going to get paid. But I wouldn't have them in a tier by themselves.
No.
The Bills and Ravens would be right there with me. The Lions, I mean, they're all this. They had as equal shot to win the Super Bowl as those other teams.
Those are the three teams he lists as being on the cusp.
Those three I just mentioned. Okay.
The Ravens right now have $3.6 million in cap space. They're going to have some defections.
I don't think Stanley's back.
No, I don't think so either.
Right.
They're saying re-signing Ronnie Stanley will be a priority, but he's 31, and what do you give him?
He can't be.
You
the
know
number
more about
one.
his medicals than anybody else does.
Right. You're not going to give as much as the Patriots are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to protect May that have unlimited funds.
And Mark Andrews is on there right now, counts $16.9 million against their cap.
Does he?
Is he a $16.9 million cap hit kind of player?
I wonder if you borrow from the bank of Lamar or restructure Andrews. I don't think they're trading or moving on from Andrews.
No, I don't think so
right,
either. They
right.
probably would have to extend him.
Yeah. He's not the most popular guy in town.
Yeah, and he's
I don't know. Maybe he is a trade candidate.
getting
maybe
up in
that's not
age.
crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe he is a trade candidate.
The Bills have minus $17.6 million in cap space.
It's rough.
Yeah. And
I don't think they have a lot that they're losing. Amari Cooper we've brought up, but he wasn't a regular every snap 80 catch guy for them either. And all these teams pick late, of course.
Right.
As is always the case with the top teams in the league.
the Lions have $46.1 million in cap space, which sounds great,
Yeah.
but all their young guys are going to start coming up for
all those
extensions.
Branch, Gibbs,
Yeah.
et cetera,
that
Hutch.
you drafted in the same
right.
area there. At some point, you're going to be extending Aiden Hutchinson, Kirby Joseph,
I could still see Myles Garrett ended up in Detroit, though.
potentially.
I mean, if you're really going to push it in.
Need a postseason breakthrough. The Packers,
Agreed.
the Vikings, and they're the only two teams in that tier. And I don't think the Vikings are going to be in that tier.
We broke the Vikings down pretty heavy yesterday. I can't imagine they'll be better next year than they were this year.
Yeah. They're 14-3 this year. They
Right.
they outkicked their coverage this year.
100%. And the last two games weren't pretty for them or Darnold, et cetera. But say what you want about Darnold in those
They
two
also
games.
have 3 draft picks.
I say they don't have any picks. They were first-round pick. They almost have to trade out of round one.
Yeah.
I mean, just to fill some needs. Their defense is loaded with free agents. The secondary is loaded with free
Their
agents.
entire secondary is heading for free agency.
They get Darisaw back from injury, but the O-line could use help. And you might be starting McCarthy.
Yeah.
I think you will. Now,
Right.
He might be fine, but I bet he doesn't have as good a year as Darnold.
It's almost why I think they almost
Aaron Jones is up.
They almost have to tag and trade Sam Darnold
Yeah. But that
just to recoup some of the. And the trade might not be you're going to get 2 first-round picks. for Sam
you might
Darnold.
just
You're
get a
gonna-
third or something.
Yeah, give us something for him.
something that
Because we don't have any picks,
yeah.
and we got to replenish this roster.
But as you know, the problem is you tag him, he eats up X amount of cap space.
They have $50 million, in
Which is
cap
good
space,
for now,
which is
right.
fine right now.
And you'd eat up like half of that with the tag.
And whoever's going to trade for him is probably going to, or sign him, is probably going to do it early in free agency because they want to know.
You would that's what I mean. The timing is, if the Raiders have been in touch with Darnold's agent, they're going to sign him. Okay. And Minnesota says, wait a minute, we're going to be a speed
gonna tag,
bump,
yeah.
and we're going to tag him, and you can still have
You
your
got to at least
quarterback.
give us a 2.
Right. I mean, but we're going to take a little. We're going to wet our beak.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But it has to happen quick in free agency. You can't just sit on his contract.
Right. That'll be something that's bang, bang, bang. The teetering contenders, the Bengals.
Because they have that quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it, but boy, they need a lot.
The Steelers.
I don't. I
Wait,
think that's-
wait a second.
Holy smokes!
I
right.
thought they were the worst franchise in the league.
Yeah, that why even bother? Now they don't have a quarterback,
Folks, this isn't us saying that. And he
Right,
says,
right.
yes, they do need to fight. They're deciding whether to sign Russell Wilson or Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Here's what he said. The 5-game losing streak, the end of 2024 campaign, should prompt changes for a franchise that leans conservative. Deciding whether to sign Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, or an alternative at quarterback should come into focus over the next month.
And it will.
My sense is that Fields and Pittsburgh are both open to a new deal as long as Fields gets a shot to be the full-time starter.
Okay. Everybody reports something different.
Yeah.
Someone It's going to be Wilson. It's going to be Fields. You know?
After that, Pittsburgh badly needs to reload the skill positions. Last year's receiver group was inadequate. A decision looms on free agent Najee Harris's future. Pittsburgh defense was uneven against the run, calling for reinforcements. And, T.J. Watt is a 2026 free agent.
Mm-hmm.
But they have
the Watt thing's something they'll deal with in training camp or whatever.
Yeah, and it's going to lower his cap number for this year.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Maybe you do it now, and even
they've got about $40 million in cap space and
the ability to make
8 draft picks.
Yeah. So they're teetering.
Actually, it's 7 draft
picks.
picks. Yeah,
right.
ESPN has it wrong for some reason.
Right. They have two sevens, but they don't have a 6.
Yeah.
But everyone else did.
Right.
You know,
so they have 7 draft picks, and they're right there.
And they're probably not going to get any comp picks.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not the end of the world here.
Mm.
They can retool this.
These other categories are worse.
Yeah.
Right.
Headed on the right track.
So they're the only 2 in that category?
3. Houston's there as well.
Oh, Houston. Okay.
Yeah.
Houston's in the same neighborhood. I mean, you love their quarterback situation. You love Cincy's quarterback situation.
But Houston's also negative $1.3 million in cap space.
They pushed their chips in last year.
Yeah, they don't have cap space. Cincy has 45.9, but they got to.
They're actually going to make a lot more with defensive stuff, but Chase is going to eat up a lot. Well, maybe not this year, but he's eat up some.
Yeah, you got to plan for the future.
If Higgins is going to be involved, they're going to eat up a ton.
Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson, T. Higgins are going to all want new deals.
And maybe Chase is the only one's back. And then you got to replace the other 2.
Yeah.
And you got to build a defense.
And Chase is going to want $40 million. And Burrow went on a show today and said, well, it's real simple. I'll restructure my contract and, just give me signing bonus and we'll lower my
Mm-hmm.
That all sounds well and good in theory. And people are like, wow, what a great guy Joe Burrow is. Well, yeah, because they're going to write him a $40 million check.
At least.
And then sign these guys and give them $40 million or more. And, hey, Jamar Chase, we're going to give you a 4-year, $200 million, $165 million contract here. We're going to give you
100 of it guaranteed.
We're going to sign here's $40 million signing bonus for you, and you get a $40 million. They can't do it for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are every player. Like when players restructure their deals, it's not a bad deal for the player.
No, they get a huge check.
If somebody came to me and said, Dale, we're going to give you what you're expected to earn this year.
Mm-hmm.
We need to create some cap space here on our imaginary
instead
salary
of getting
cap.
a check every month.
Yeah, instead of getting a check every month, we're going to give you the lump sum right now for what you're going to earn this year.
You could buy a CD with it as if it's 1940
or
whatever. You can invest it. You can do whatever you want.
I can do whatever I want because now it's my money. I don't have to wait to get it.
And by the way, if you went blind or never threw another touchdown or wrote another article, you still have that money.
The money's mine.
Right. Yeah. Joe Burrow could get hit by a truck. I hope he doesn't, but he's still getting that money.
That could happen. He could tear his ACL again, and you're paying him all that money for nothing.
Right. He gets hurt working out tomorrow and tears his pec and never throws the ball again.
So it sounds great in theory until you're the guy having to write $140 million in checks.
It's not a super generous offer by Joe Burrow. I mean, good. I mean, I'm glad that the bank of Burrow's open, just like we talked about with Lamar and these other great quarterbacks. But it's no secret that the Brown family who owns the Bengals aren't the wealthiest owners of the 32. They're going to write a guaranteed check for Jamar. Franchise tag's guaranteed if they do Higgins. They just wrote $60 million to Burrow to restructure. All of a sudden, the Brown family's down $120 million that they had yesterday.
But
who cares?
Piece of cake.
Right.
Piece of cake. Yeah. It's easy to do that when it's not your money.
Right.
Headed on the right track, the Broncos.
Agreed. They found a quarterback and they got a coach and they built the lines of scrimmage.
The Chargers.
I think they're heading on the right track because they have a ton of cap space.
They got $74 million in cap space.
Last year was their can't buy anything year.
Here's the Rams on the list for this. And
I love McVay.
I don't know if
they'd be in that same category.
I don't know if they're headed on in that same category because Matthew Stafford's 37 years old.
It's more like holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they can't win a lot of games or win their division this year.
In fact, I'd probably pick them to win that division.
And they're young elsewhere.
Yeah.
They're
going to have similar problems, though. And everybody thought, well, they had such a great hit on this pick. And they had a bunch of draft picks, which we just did in our mock draft. If you've got eight of the top 120 picks, you're more likely to hit on some of those guys.
Of course.
Right. And by the way, you had to play them because you didn't have anybody else.
They're not retired,
so they're going to have stats,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore they win awards and that kind of stuff and make the all-rookie teams. Doesn't necessarily mean they're the best players at their positions in those drafts.
Right. They're just
But
getting more opportunity.
They had the opportunity, and then you got to pay them all at the same time.
You might have to trade one of you guys you love
Yeah.
after year 2 or 3 just to prepare
Because
for
they're
that.
all coming up for contracts
Burst or
at the
fist
same
or-
time.
Yeah.
It's
It's
and
a
then
good problem to have, though. That just means you drafted well.
Tampa Bay is on that list.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would include them on that list. And here's why.
I'm really impressed with their front office, though.
Levante David,
They need linebacker help bad.
35 years old.
Yeah.
They missed worse on their inside. White was a bigger whiff
Oh,
than
yeah,
Devin
that's a swing and
Bush.
a miss, right.
I mean, he was a 5th overall pick.
Yeah.
Mike Williams is not getting any younger.
Mike Evans.
Or Mike Evans, I
Yeah,
should
yeah,
say.
yeah.
Mike Williams. Mike Evans isn't getting any younger. You might lose Godwin this year. You only have $6.6 million in cap space.
No, their defense needs a little work. I think they lost the offense coordinator again.
I think
would still keep them in
they'll
that
be a
group,
good team. And they're
right.
probably they're still the best team in that division.
Yeah. I would still have them on the same level as the Rams, wherever you put them.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a different category, and those two should be in their own. But they don't have the youth the Rams do.
Yeah.
The
He also has the
quarterback's a little
Seahawks
less.
in that tier. Seahawks are $31 million
their cap's a mess.
over the cap. They don't have a veteran. They don't.
They said without saying that they're going to cut Lockett, which we all knew.
DK Metcalf is a $31.9 million cap hit for a team that is $31 million
He may not
over
be a
the cap.
Seahawk.
Geno Smith is a $44.5 million cap hit who has a $10 million roster bonus due on March 16th.
Yeah.
You're
I've
$31
mentioned
million
him.
over the cap,
Geno might be a guy you could pry away from that.
and he's 34.
And this staff did not draft him and inherit
They're
him.
not married to him.
Like the Rams, though, if I were those teams and considered trading my quarterback, I wish I would have had Hendon Hooker. I mean, at least use something.
Yes.
They have
Sam
nothing
Howell
behind
is
those
not-
guys.
is not it.
Right. It'd be nice to have a second-round pick in the waiting or something like that. Because I don't want to have to trust this draft.
The Commanders are in that group. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
They got $59.1 million in cap space. Their problem is they've also got like 29.
Half their roster's up.
Yeah. Half their roster are unrestricted free agents this
They're
year.
not superstars, but half their roster's up.
You're going to have to pay.
You need to.
You have to sign 15 guys in free agency just to keep the status quo.
Exactly. And maybe some of them might be your own, but of course.
Teams stuck in the middle, but a move or two away.
And I'm sure he doesn't mean a move or two away from being better than the Eagles.
No.
But yeah.
The Falcons.
Their cap's a mess, too, though.
They're $12.7 million over the cap.
Yeah.
The Cowboys, they're $10.4 million over the cap.
Mm-hmm. With a Parsons trade, or a Parsons
deal
contract deal,
waiting.
waiting.
The Colts, they have $27.3 million in cap space, but do they have a quarterback?
Right.
Like, I don't understand. Like, if you're going to talk about, and I understand the Steelers.
I don't know if any of those are a
The
move
Steelers
away.
don't have a quarterback right now.
I mean,
right
they
now.
literally do not. Right.
Neither do the Colts.
I mean, I would be more comfortable if Richardson was on my roster than not.
All right, if the Steelers had Richardson right now, you would be comfortable with that.
Then I would still sign Fields.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I'm not done.
That's what I'm saying.
But
Richardson doesn't move the needle for me.
I would not draft any then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I would go in
Richardson
with Fields
does
and
not
Richardson.
move the needle at all.
It's not
for me.
enough.
No.
But it's better than having zero.
The 49ers are in this group.
Their season could go so
They're
many different ways.
$21.6 million over the cap, and they've got to re-sign their quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a $40 million a year deal or more.
And he's not one of these quarterbacks where he was eating up $30 million in a cap,
Yeah.
and this year he's only going to be $5 million. No, he's been eating up $1 million of your cap
Right.
because he was Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right? Debo's going to be gone, and you know.
Stuck in quarterback purgatory teams. The Browns.
They wish. They have nothing.
They don't have a quarterback.
Right.
The Raiders.
Yeah, but neither one of us have. Yeah, they're looking. Purgatory to me is being stuck with Matt Schaub.
Yeah.
I mean, so we just define that differently. They don't have. They're looking for their quarterbacks.
The teams that could go either way. The Cardinals.
I think they're trending the right direction.
The Bears.
I think they're trending the right direction.
The Dolphins.
I think they're trending the wrong direction.
Yeah. New coach, new direction. And when we know these teams, Jacksonville, the Saints, and then rebuild in the works. I don't know if I'd agree with the Carolina Panthers. I think they're already working on the rebuild.
Yeah, I think they're going in the right direction after going the wrong direction.
The Tennessee Titans.
They would put them with the Raiders as who's our quarterback?
Yeah. The Giants. same thing.
I almost said that a minute ago. They would be right there in that Raider category.
And the still rebuilding teams are the Patriots. The Jets should be in that situation.
Yeah, but I'd much rather rebuild the Pats.
They don't know who their quarterbacks.
Right.
And that's it.
Okay. Steelers are pretty high up on the list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, the Steelers are
not our list.
Right.
This was done by a national analyst.
Yes, the Steelers aren't in as good a shape as the Chiefs and Bills and Lions.
Correct.
And, agreed. But a lot of those teams, I would much rather be in the Steelers' shoes today than theirs.
Yeah.
Even the Titans with the first overall pick. I mean, it'd be different if Andrew Luck was coming out. Like, okay, well, right.
That's a little different. That's a different conversation.
Better year to have the first overall pick. Right.
That's not the reality of what's happening right now in the NFL.
Right.
This draft is not that.
Yeah, and a lot of those teams that need stuff can't get them with the cap situation.
Yeah. And the other thing that people don't think about is quarterbacks, especially, are staying in school. Everybody wants to say, well, next year's this guy's going to be available.
Right.
You don't know that because these guys are getting paid in college.
They should stay in longer.
And it's pretty nice to be able to sit in college, and I'm making $5 million to hang out on a college campus.
Right, and take ceramics and ballroom dancing and focus on football, and it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, so
we'll just get Arch Manning next year. You think?
Everybody assumed Drew Aller was going to be in this draft.
He
said, no, I'm good. I'm going to go back to Penn State.
Try to win national title.
I'm making all this money. Why would I go? I'll make less money at the NFL level.
That being said, I bet next year's draft's better than this year's draft.
I would assume so. Yeah.
I mean, this is a down year for quarterback draft.
Especially at the top. There's some guys I like, but
exactly.
Yeah.
But I'll go fish on next year's class over this one.
Absolutely. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. This is the Steelers. This is The Drive on the Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back to finish up the show right after this. Welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, looking here at some news and notes from around the league, Bengals linebacker Jermaine Pratt, who's their team defensive captain, he's requested a trade from the Bengals.
Oh, really? I didn't see that. Wow. I could see people jumping ship. I don't know that Hendrickson's going to come back. I mean, Burrow's okay. He's going to restructure, but is he there for the long haul? I mean, I could see. I said this a couple months ago. I just see the foundation starting to crumble.
Here's the question I would have asked when he starts talking about restructuring. Joe, if they say they want you to restructure, but it's not to keep Higgins.
Yeah, right.
It's to build the defense. Are you still on board with that? Because that could be the conversation. Like, wait a second.
We want to sign 4 defensive starters.
And he says, no, but I want T. Higgins.
This is for Higgins,
Yeah.
right. The other thing, if he restructures, he is in for the long haul.
Right.
I mean, that's a different – if he's thinking about getting out of there, maybe I won't restructure. And athletes will always restructure.
Well, he's not going to – if that's the case, he's not going to worry about the cap hit down the road.
Well, he's not, right.
That's their problem.
That's their problem, right. I don't know.
It's a tough situation.
I don't love where the Bengals are at. I really don't.
It's a tough situation.
Yeah.
I
could see it getting worse before it gets better, I guess is the way I'd phrase that.
Yeah. NFL.com has the top tackling, or its tackling grades, I should say.
This is based off next-gen stats.
Next-gen
These
stats,
aren't
which
just PFF.
Yeah, these are actual measuring guys. You were in position to make the tackle. Did you make it or not? And the Steelers came in 4th on this list.
It's your defense.
Yeah.
Yep.
The top teams: Kansas City, Baltimore, Denver, Pittsburgh, and Detroit. The Eagles just missed at 6.
None of those surprised me. That's the big thing I talked about going to the Super Bowl. 2 of the best tackling defenses in the league. It's a lost art. A lot of times you got to defend the run now with lighter boxes. It's harder to practice tackling, and it's as important as ever. And these offensive coordinators are great at finding this outside corner is not a good tackler. I'm going to run Derrick Henry at him over and over and over. You know what I mean?
Funny you mention that because while they mentioned that Deshaun Elliott and Minkah Fitzpatrick were the best tackling safety duo in the league,
that should surprise no one. I hope no one's like, really? Come on. What are you talking about? Those guys get it done.
They get people on the ground.
Yeah.
Dante Jackson, however, was credited with 12 missed tackles for an extra 111 yards. He's a smaller guy. But teams will find you.
Yeah.
Teams will find you on the field, and they will attack you if that's the case.
I think Porter's gotten better over his career.
Yes.
And without question. And he's willing. And, again, if you're top 5 now and a guy that played a ton of snaps for you. I know it's a corner, and if somebody's going to be a weaker tackler, it's going to be a corner. We know that, of course.
It's
the
smallest guys on the field.
Sometimes they're just pushing dudes out of bounds or whatever. But if that becomes an average tackler next year, whether it's Murphy or Reed or a first-round pick or a second-round pick or whatever, maybe you're the second best tackling defense in the league. You know what I mean?
Not only that, but if you improve your nickel, a big part of playing your nickel corner is tackling, getting guys on the ground.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why the Steelers have always for a lot of times they've had a rundown nickel corner and a passing down nickel corner.
Whether
it's a different job.
It is a different job.
Ideally, you'd like to have somebody, Brian Branch, who can do both.
Sure. They don't grow on trees anymore. Everybody wants those guys. But again, like the Blackman conversation we've had for the last two hours or so, if he's your first down nickel slot corner, well, you're going to be a better corner tackling team than Beanie. No question.
No offense to Beanie, but he's just not the biggest guy.
No. And I don't think he was a liability, but I bet in year 2, Peyton Wilson's a better tackler than he is in year 1, just because I know what the league is now.
He's gotten used to it now.
Right. I mean, I've played against Henry
do
twice and Lamar twice. And, right. So, no, I think there's nowhere to – and Cam Hayward and Watt and those guys are exceptional at it, too. It's an easy thing to forget that, they're so good at the things that everybody sees, the tackles for losses and the forced fumbles, but the fundamentals are there with those guys, too.
Yeah, you have a bad day against Derrick Henry, and this team can't tackle. Well, don't let Derrick Henry get rolling and –
well, that part of it is, he was running through big holes. Yeah. That's not bad tackling. That's holding your gap and, in those games, right?
Yeah. Again, which goes back to our conversation, why you need defensive line help. Got to be better.
But I don't think it's an accident that the 5 or 6 teams you mentioned at the top of the league won a lot of games.
Yeah.
Including the Super Bowl, 2 teams.
Yeah, for sure. But, Matt, that's going to do it for the show today.
All right.
We will be back again tomorrow and getting closer and closer to the Combine. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, we got some big things coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. You got all that stuff happening here. We'll start getting some franchise tag numbers here within the next couple of weeks. We'll get the actual salary cap numbers. That should be out here soon.
I bet some receivers get traded. I bet some guys get cut.
See some movement,
There'll be news almost every day.
Yeah, absolutely. But for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site running the Justin Miller hotline and the soundboard, and for Tevin Dandridge, making sure our video gets out there onto YouTube. I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.